Linear functions are mainly any equation or a function that has x to the power of 1. معلش امسك نفسك. So what is x to the power of 1 again? So if let's say you have anything with an x to the power of 1, when you graph it, it will look like a line, and that's why it's called a linear function. If the line from left to right is going up, we call this a growing or an increasing linear function. But if the line from left to right is going down, that's a negative function. There are very important things regarding any kind of a linear equation. So whenever we read the word linear, we think of those things. إيه هما those things? They're mainly the slope and the y-intercept. So whenever you see those, whenever you see a linear equation, think about the slope and the y-intercept. We need to be able to calculate the slope and the y-intercept from any given form. Whether you are given a graph or a table or just points, this is one case. The other case is whenever you're given an equation. And the equation has 3 different forms that we'll discuss in detail. First of all, whenever we're given graph or table or points, whenever we're given those, the only way to calculate the slope is rise over run. And rise is mainly y2 minus y1, and the run is x2 minus x1. So this could be given in the form of a table. You can be given a table like this one. This is x, this is y, 0, 1, 2, and then 4, 6, 8, for example. And you're asked to find the slope, or you're not even asked to find the slope, but you can see there's a table there of a linear function. Calculate the slope anyway. Let's apply this on this equation here, on this table here, and do 6 minus 4 over 1 minus 0. The y is first, up, 6 minus 4 over the x is down, 1 minus 0. That would get me 2 over 1, which is 2. So I know the slope right away. This is my slope. It could be, as I told you, given as a table, or it could be given as points. They can write the points for you this way, 0 and 4, 1 and 6. Find the slope. Still, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, if you're given an equation, that's a bit of a harder part. There are 3 forms of the equation. The first form is the most common one, which is called slope-intercept form. It's called slope-intercept because it shows the slope and shows the intercept. So عشان كده this is a very important one بالنسبة لنا. It shows الحاجات المهمة بتاعت اللاين اللي هما السلوب والintercept. This form is y equals mx plus b. M here, اللي هو number next to the slope, next to the x. This is what's supposed to represent the slope, while b is what's supposed to represent the y-intercept. What kind of questions could show? Whenever you're given any kind of equation written this way, y equals half x plus 3, you should be able to identify that the slope is half and that the y-intercept is 3. You can sometimes be given the equation with different letters. مش لازم تكون x و y. ممكن تكون أي 2 letters. المهم إن الاثنين to the power of 1. يعني مثلا t equals 3d plus 100. This is still linear. وبرضه في نفس الفورم of y equals mx plus b. وال 3 في الكيس دي would be the slope, while the 100 is the y-intercept. Is there any questions على الفورم دي, or is there any questions about anything that I've said so far? Okay. Type. The other form is the standard form. It's a very important one because this is the one they use a lot في tests to confuse you شوية. This form is whenever you have x and y both on the same side of the equal sign. ax plus by equals to c. An example would be whenever you're given an equation negative 2x plus 3y equals 9, let's say. Then what is the slope and what is the y-intercept? Please notice in the difference ما بين both is huge. The slope-intercept form, y في ناحية لوحدها equals to everything. While the standard form, x y في نفس الناحية on the same side. In this case, the slope is negative a over b. What do I mean by that? يعني باخد الرقم اللي جنب x بعكس الساين over الرقم اللي جنب y. So the slope here is الرقم اللي جنب x which is the negative 2 بعكس الساين over الرقم اللي جنب y which is positive 3. That's the slope. The y-intercept on the other hand is supposed to be c over b اللي هو الرقم اللي بره هنا over الرقم اللي جنب y, and there are no signs to change خالص. So in this case I'll take 9 divided by the 3. 9 over 3 is 3, so I have the y-intercept and I have the slope. Is this one clear for everyone? Very good. Okay, Muhammad, I need some sort of a feedback حتى لو في text أو كده ما تنسى tell me yes, we can move on or not. There is a third form called point slope form. And this form is whenever you have y minus y1 equals m bracket x minus x1. Now what's the difference between the three forms? الفورم الأولانية slope intercept y في ناحية لوحدها equals everything. الفورم الثانية اللي هي standard form x y في نفس الناحية equals everything برضه أو equals a number. While في البوينت سلوب y جنبها رقم وبعدين في bracket والx جنبها رقم. This form is called point slope because this number here اللي جنب البراكت is the slope. While ال two numbers دول اللي هم ال x وال y بعكس الساينز is a point on the line. What does that mean? Okay. So let's say they told you there is a line that has a slope of 2 and it passes through point -1 and 3. Find the equation. If I'm given a slope and a point, the best form to use is y minus y1 equals m bracket x minus x1, which is the point slope form. You should put the slope instead of the m. And you should put this x and this y instead of this x and instead of this y, but with the opposite signs. So it should be y minus 3, which is this y here, equals the slope, which is 2, and then x, and this number with the opposite sign, which is +1. So again, if you know the slope and you know a point on the line, you can find the equation. Just put the slope before the bracket. بس ال x وال y both بيغيروا الساينز. بحط جنب ال y اللي هنا بعكس الساين، وبحط جنب ال x اللي هنا بعكس الساين as well. Is there any problem so far in any of those questions? Let's say you're given in a question that a line passes through 2 and 4, -3 and m. And you're told that the slope of this line is -2 over 3. You're asked to find m. So how do we think about such question? Whenever we see 2 points and we see the word slope, linear functions. على طول. طيب, what do we think of whenever we see the points and the slope? How do we calculate the slope using points? ابتدي باللي أنا عارفه. Yes. y2
minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Yes, perfect. So whenever I see any 2 points and slope I think of الرول ده على طول. أنا السبستيتيوت يعني هشوف أنا لو عايز أحسب السلوب بتاع ال 2 points دول هعمل إيه؟ so هعمل m اللي هي الواي دي minus this y اللي هي 4 over negative 3 which is this x minus this x which is 2. Now they told me that the slope is supposed to be equals to negative 2 over 3. So this thing that I just calculated is supposed to be equals to negative 2 over 3. Now I'm trying to find the value of m, so I have an equation that I can solve. I'll add like terms. So negative 3 minus 2 will become negative 5. All of this is equals to negative 2 over 3. Now, whenever في أي وقت في الدنيا you have two fractions equals to each other, the only thing you can do is to cross multiply. This is what's happening here. We have two fractions equals to each other. So I will cross multiply. I'll say the 3 is multiplied by, in a bracket, m minus 4 equals the negative 2 multiplied in a bracket by negative 5. Distribute the 3, I'll get 3m minus 12 equals negative 2 times negative 5, positive 10. Until this step, anyone has any issues whatsoever? Type. I'll move the negative 12 to the other side, so I'll have 3m equals 10 plus 12, which is 22. And then I'll move the 3 to the other side by division, so m must be equals to 22 over 3. This is the answer. This is the value of m. Does this make sense, Agama? Are we all good? Now please head to Google Classroom. Class 1, the one where you found the link, and work on the form that's called 3-2 rate of change and slope. This form there, all of its questions is about the slope and the rate of change. So you should be able to easily think in the direction of slope and rate of change. بس دايما حاولوا تركزوا or to recognize on your own ايه اللي خلاني اعرف انها اصلا linear. So لو الكويستشن ده جه لوحده في الامتحان في وسط حاجات تانية ازاي اخد بالي ان هو linear. That's what I would like you to focus on. I sent the link for the form as well again in the chat. We have a total of 6 questions. So for all 6 questions, you'll get 7 minutes. Try, please, to make sure that you finish within time. And if something happens or something, and if you need extra time, that's okay. But try your best always to finish within time. 7 minutes, 3-2 starts now. So for the first one, you're already given a graph, and whenever you see in a graph a line, you should think right away of the slope. And whenever we think of slope with a graph, we think of rise over run, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'll do negative 1 minus 3 over 0 minus negative 3. That would get me negative 4 over positive 3. So this is my slope right away, which is A. The word rate of change is exactly the same as the slope. So when I ask for the average rate of change, it's exactly as asking for the slope. Now, if one other person decided to start from this point, if they decided to go from 3 minus the other y, which is negative 1, it's fine. You just need to start from the same x برضو. So negative 3 minus 0. This will get you to the same answer, 4 over negative 3, which is still negative 4 over 3. So it doesn't matter which point you start with. What matters is اللي هبتدي منه ال y ابتدي منه ال x's. Any problems in this one? I think you all got them right. No. So the second one is still also a right one. You're given a table. So the slope is 3 minus 1. These are the y's. 3 minus 1 over 3 minus 0, the x's. That would get me 2 over 3. That's it, C, done. Moving on to number 3, and this is where the mistakes started to show. We've selected every single possible choice. So let's see how this works. You're given 2 points, and there's something here that says linear. So because there's a word that says linear, I'm thinking of slope. And because I'm given points, then I'm thinking of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Even though I don't know what they want next, but I'll just do that no matter what. I'll do what I know. I know that these points should put me in a situation where I do b minus 1 over 1 minus a. That's what I should do in order to find the slope of any 2 points. Then you're told that the slope of the graph is 1. So that means that whatever you just calculated should be equals to 1. Now let's look at the answers. They're saying which of the following is true. When you look at all the answers, the A and the B are next to each other on the same side of the equal sign. But that's not the case here. Here the B and the A are over each other. So I'm looking for a way إن أنا أخلي ال A وال B يبقوا جنب بعض. How to do so? To move this thing to the other side by multiplication. So I have B minus 1 equals 1 multiplied by 1 minus A, which means that B minus 1 is equals to 1 minus A. Now again, my target إن أنا أخلي ال A will be on the same side. So I will need to move this negative A to this side, and I need to move this negative 1 to the other side. If the A moved to this side, it should go as positive A plus B, and then equals, this one will go down as it is, but this one goes to the other side with addition. So then A plus B must be equals to 2. When you look at this and you look at the choices, D seems to be the correct choice. Does this make sense? Thank you, Jay. Does this make sense to everyone? Yes. Good. Again, so بس الحاجات اللي عايز أركز عليها is the following. Where did we start? We started from what we know. We saw points and we saw slope. We did what we know. Calculate the slope. And then when we're given the slope, we wrote it down next to it. إحنا بنحب equations. Whenever we see equations, we should be happy because we're no longer following thinking methodologies. We're following steps. So just in order to find the A and the B, if I need to move something from one side to the other side, لو كان بالdivided هيروح بالtimes، لو كان بالplus هيروح بالminus. I'm no longer thinking anymore. I hope that makes sense. Number 4 is a very easy one. برضو you're given points. You're asked about the slope. I'm sorry, yes. حد كان بيقول حاجة؟
أنا في النهاية بس حطيت الأنسر fraction مش decimal فهي طلعت بس هي صح.
لا خلاص يبقى هي صح definitely. معلش دي حاجة برضو I forgot to add في الانسر key. So المفروض تبقى y2 minus y1 ال y's minus بعض over ال x's minus بعض. These two x's, negative 1 وال 3. So negative 8 minus 2 over negative 1 minus 3, and that's negative 10 over negative 4. Simplified, it's 5 over 2. If you wrote it this way, it's correct. If you wrote it as 2.5, it's also correct. Never mind the form, in the actual test, it will be correct. For number 4, I wrote it as decimal, it was counted correct. Good. So sometimes I do fractions apparently, and sometimes I do decimals. That's weird. Or maybe I've added the fraction in one of them and I forgot to add it in the other. They're both correct. Okay. Let's work on 5, and that's the one just similar to the one اللي احنا I explained it for you before we started. The test is computer based, right? The SAT test is computer based. The ACT test is computer based. The EST so far is not. The EST, it's actually paper based. The SAT in March will be computerized. Right now, it's actually برضه still paper based.
Still هو الكمبيوتر بيز أحسن.
In what way؟ يعني أحسن في إيه؟
يعني مش عارفة بس.
هو أنا بحس يعني لو computer based I think it's much better عشان بس الحاجات clearer و it's impossible مثلا انك تبقى عندك مشكله ان الخطوط صغيره او ان you don't have enough spaces to write لان you have always draft paper وحتت تكتبي فيها. plus ان ال paper based بت waste time بصراحه شويه in shading these bubbles for each answer. بس في الكمبيوتر based you just click on the answer وخلصنا. It doesn't waste time يعني. يا حبيبي محمد بتتكلم على انهي حاجه يا حبيبي اللي we can't sketch or make notes فين؟ No you can't. بتتكلم عن EST you can't صح؟ ACT حبيبي لا ACT is now computer based so you are allowed عادي انك to have an extra draft paper with you and do whatever. ال SAT is برضو draft sorry is now right now today it's paper based so you can write next to each question for أي empty space you can write لأن كده كده you submit everything including the question paper to the proctor بعد ما تخلص. لما يبقى computer based you will be برضو allowed to use a draft paper next to you. فلا don't ever think انه you'll have a problem في draft paper. يعني لو غلسوا فهيغلسوا في الاي اس تي بس ساعات ان هم هيتاخروا عليك يجيبوا لك ورقه زياده مثلا. They'll give you one paper at a time مثلا. That's the worst that could happen. When taking paper test you will lose Wi-Fi connection. That's another story يا جد بصراحه. Yes it happens sometimes and the Wi-Fi connections get lost and so on. But in the SAT and ACT tests these are international tests and these kinds of problems are actually taken care of. يعني if something or if anything proved that you had any problems with the connection you will be retested or something like that would be fixed right away because it's computer based and that's the beauty of a computer based thing. It can be easily tracked. But that, no computer based doesn't necessarily mean it's easier. It's the exact same test. It's just on a computer يعني. I get yes your point طبعا. I just don't want you to actually worry about it. يا جماعة الفرق is not that much of a big difference يعني. I think بس ال computer based are faster حتى to be corrected. So كل التستس اللي computer based بيجي لك الانسرز او الريزلت بتاعتك اسرع من ال paper based. That's mainly it يعني. You're a teacher? I'm thinking of corrections. لا والله not because of it. أنا يعني طول عمري عامة I prefer things to be digital شوية. I think it's better. I don't know how. I don't know why. The exam is going to be shorter after it becomes computerized. Actually, the exam is not going to be shorter yet in that way. The SAT test starting March 2023 will be changed. The mode entirely will be changed. It will be something called an adaptive test. يعني it will change according to what you're giving or what are your answers so far. So if you keep answering them all correct, they'll get you harder questions to assess the maximum you can score and get it over with. If you keep assessing or if you keep getting them wrong, they'll get you easier questions to again check where do you stand طيب and start from there. So that's why it's shorter. There is no necessary, it's not necessary to give you extra questions on the same level if you're already above that level خلاص. Or if you're already below, there's no point of giving you hard questions على طول. So it changes according to your results. So the idea that it's shorter doesn't necessarily actually it does not mean at all it's easier. It's actually harder because it's shorter. We'll discuss those details later on, and I wanted to discuss this with you. Let's start بس working on 5 معلش not to waste so much time وبعدين I'll work with you or I'll tell you I'll talk about the rest. Now number 5, again you're given 2 points and you're told that this is a line, so you think of slope right away and you're told that the slope already is -1. So let's calculate the slope out of points. It's supposed to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So r minus 3 over -5 minus 4. This should be equals to the slope that they gave me, which is equals to -1. Right. Now what happens next? R minus 3 will remain as it is, but the -5 minus 4, these are like terms, they'll become -9. Then I'll move this negative 9 to the other side by multiplication. I'll have r minus 3 equals to positive 9. Then the negative 3 will move to the other side by addition. So 9 plus 3 will become 12. Apparently you just got the value of r. بالصدفة كده حاجة جميلة جدا and we're done.
مستر هو انا عاوز اسال
I'm sorry, yes يعني.
واحنا لو ما هي المفروض نيجاتيف 1 بلس 9
No times.
ف 8
Times. No times.
صح
عشان هي تحت كانت بالديفايدد.
ايوه
Yes.
وانا امتى بصير اعرف اعمل الكروس مالتيبليكيشن امتى وامتى اعملها عادي
بالطريقة دي. So as long as there is no fractions, there is no need for cross multiplication. هو ما فيش fraction أصلا. Cross multiplication هي ينفع في number 6. لأن number 6 when you do this minus this over this minus this, you'll find a minus 7 over 1 minus a equals to a fraction, which is negative 5 over 9. This is a fraction, but these are not. لما ما يكونش fraction ودي الحتة اللي تحت الناحية التانية بالتايمز. بس لما يكونوا fractions cross multiply. Sure? So هنا مثلا in the second question اهو هتبقى 9 multiplied by a minus 7 equals negative 5 multiplied by 1 minus a. I'll distribute the 9. I'll get 9a minus 63 equals negative 5 plus 5a. Distributing this. Then I'll move الحاجات اللي فيها a to one side and the things that doesn't have an a to the other side. I'll have 9a minus 5a equals to negative 5 plus 63. 9 minus 5 is 4a and negative 5 plus 63 is 58. A will be equals to 58 over 4. This is the value of A. Please ask. Any questions? So 14.5 is correct. Yes, because 58 over 4 is 58 over, actually 58 over 4, it should be simplified to become 29 over 2 فعلا. Or if you wrote it as a decimal, 14.5, it's true. So this is correct and this is correct.
الاثنين صح يعني لو كتبتهم كديسيمال او
Yes. انا الفورم is not accurate لان انا ما حطيتش واحده منهم مش فاكر مين. بس الامتحان طبعا الاثنين هيبقوا الاكتشوال امتحان هيبقوا الاثنين صح. Are we all good? Is there any problems for any of the questions passed?
No.
طيب. Now let's move right away على طول to to 3-3 اللي هي slope intercept form because those are all about the equations. So you're given already a graph and you're asked to write the equation مرة in point slope form, مرة in slope intercept form, and then in standard form, and then the other two questions remaining. One of them is best critical thinking شوية and the other one is finding an equation. So just figure them out, try to check how this works, and then we'll discuss them right after we're done. It's now 3-3 and it's called slope intercept. Still 7 minutes for the 5 questions, and please try to finish within time. 7 minutes starts now. Now the first 3 questions are on the same graph. And the first question is asking me to find the equation in point slope form. So apparently, since it's called point slope and I'm given a graph, I'll calculate the slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So negative 4 minus 2 over 4 minus negative 4. That will give me negative 6 over 8, which simplified is negative 3 over 4. So the slope is negative 3 over 4. when you look at the choices, this is a very important thing, is to eliminate the incorrect answers من الأول. So when you look at those, هنا المفروض يكون في السلوب وهنا السلوب and so on. Those slopes are incorrect. لأن أنا عارف إن السلوب is negative 3 over 4, so I eliminated the أول two choices. Now I'm picking من دي أو دي. When you look at the numbers, they're 2 and 4, بس الفرق في الساينز. So I have to go back to the graph and check the point that has 2 and 4 in it. What was the original signs there? It was supposed to be negative 4 and 2. And we said في الpoint slope form بنحط ال x وال y both بعكس الساينز. So instead of positive 2 جنب ال y هحط negative 2. Instead of negative 4 جنب ال x هحط positive 4. So C is actually the correct answer. Is this one good? Is this one clear for all of you?
Yes.
So again, it's important بس please بالنسبة لي to eliminate the incorrect answers. That's a very important عامة way of thinking of choices. The second thing is طبعا try to refer back to the choices to give you a hint on what to think about أصلا. يعني because of the choices I thought of the points 4 and 2 and I did not even try the other point خالص. So try to check both دايما the choices along with the question بسرعة. Take a look at it. It gives you a hint of where to work or where to think. Now the second one is still about the same graph, but instead they're asking me to find the equation in slope-intercept form. So I will need to find the slope and I will need to find the intercept. The slope, I already know that it's negative 3 over 4 out of the previous question. I just need now to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is mainly the point اللي اللاين بيintersect فيها ال y-axis. This point here. This is the y-intercept. So what's the value of this y-intercept? تحت هنا this is negative 1 على y. So when you look at the choices, the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. I have the slope as negative 3 over 4, and I have the y-intercept as negative 1. When you look again at the choices, it's B definitely, C is definitely incorrect, and D definitely incorrect based on just the slope. Does this make sense to everyone as well? Are we good?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's move to the third one. The third one is still on the same graph, and they're asking me to find the equation, but in the standard form. So I'll ask myself, what do I know about the standard form? I know that it's written this way, and I know that in order to find the slope, we should do negative a over b. And in order to find the y-intercept, we should do c over b. So all what I need to do first is to check which of those have the same slope, which was originally negative 3 over 4 اللي أنا حسبته فوق. هحسب the slope of this one. It's negative 4 over negative 3. Definitely incorrect. هحسب the slope of this one. Negative 4 over 3. Incorrect. هحسب the slope of the C. It's negative 3 over negative 4, which will become positive 3 over 4. So it's still incorrect. It's definitely D. And if you calculate it, it's still negative 3 over 4, similar to the slope that we were looking for at the very beginning. Does this make sense, everyone? Yes, it did. I just noticed that it's 100% true. So الفرق في ايه في الكويستشن ده عن اللي فاتوا؟ اللي فاتوا I was able to create an equation and then pick the choice. ليه؟ لأنه it's easy. It was easy for me to find the slope and the y-intercept, so I created أو I had the equation with me already اللي هي negative 3 over x, negative 3 over 4x قبل ما اختار الchoice. While number 3 it's a different story. أنا بشوف each choice which one of them works, which one of them fits الكرايتيريا بتاعتي. My criteria is that the slope must be negative 3 over 4. So I check each one of the points and I check whether they have negative 3 over 4 or not. Does this make sense, برضو?
Yes.
This question has two correct answers. طيب ماشي. Wait, يعني ask me that question. I wanted to check بس حاجة معلش أسأل الناس معينة لوجي ولوجي ومين تاني وهنا وشادى وعلي specific names are we good so far ولا إيه الأخبار؟
Oh, yes.
Yes, sound good.
No, Mr.
الحمد لله الحمد لله. Jed, what's your question? What's that question that has two correct answers? It was about data. طيب ماشي. Please send me this one and I need to check it with you. But I like those questions قوي. طيب now number 4. Yes يا حبيبي.
ممكن نطلع من number 2 تاني.
يا حبيبي. I appreciate it يا جاي. This one. Yes. انت عايز بس تنقليها؟ لا انا كده هديك النوتس في اخر كل كلاس ما تخافيش. Every single time ابقى ابلود النوتس دي زي ما هي بالظبط والريكوردد كلاس.
بنقلها صح عشان الكل قفل فجأة.
صح. I saw you left and came back. صح. Sorry. طيب number 4. This is a very important question عشان those are the questions you don't like. The word problems. I actually like word problems قوي because they explain themselves pretty well. They give me every detail there. Or they always give me hints of what to do. I just need to read them the right way. مش محتاج أقرأ كل السؤال مرة واحدة لأن الموضوع ده بيخد. تقرأ sentence and try to get من each sentence كل الانفورميشن اللي تعرف تطلعها الأول. So don't move to the next sentence unless you've got everything you need out of the first one. بيقول لي in 2005 120 students at Lincoln High had smartphones. I'll stop here at the first full stop. What have I noticed? Nothing. The only new information is that 2005 we had 120. Now by the year 2010 345 students in the same school had smartphones. I'll stop here at the second full stop. What can I get out of this? The year 2010 there was 345 phones. Which of you see how I write things? This is not just for me to explain. This is how I organize my thoughts, and that's how you should do things. Now, which of the following best describes the annual rate of change? That's a keyword. That's a word that you've heard so much so far, so it should represent something. The rate of change in the number of smartphones students had from the year 2005 to the year 2010 at Lincoln High School. So what do I know about the word rate of change? I've told you that the word rate of change is exactly the same as the slope. And I can easily think, okay, what does this have to do with slope? But when you think even further شوية, these are considered x and y of each other. So in the year 2005, that's the x, the y was 120. In the year 2010, that's the other x, the y was 345. So I can actually now calculate فعلا the slope by getting the change in y, which is 345 minus 120, over the change in the years, which is 2010 minus 2005. When you do this, you should get 45. What does that mean? Y represent the number of smartphones, while X represent the years. The slope is the change in Y over the change in X. And بما إن Y represent the number of smartphones, then we can say it's the change in smartphones over the change in X, which represents the years. It's the change اللي حصل في number of smartphones over the change اللي حصل في years. So it makes sense that we have a change of 45 smartphones every 1 year. That's what the slope represents. That's the annual rate of change. Every 1 year, what's the rate of change in the number of smartphones? So again, when you read the choices, you'll notice the only B says that the average increase in the number of smartphones per 1 year is 45. This is a very important question بالنسبة لي, so please ask as many questions as you'd like about this. If you don't understand anything about it فعلا, whether how to solve it, whether what it means, أي حاجة. Nothing? You're good? Okay. Finally, number 5. Which of the following is the equation of the line that passes through the point this and has a slope of this? So you're given a slope and you're given a point, and now you're given all the equations, and that's what I told you to do. Check the choices. All the choices are in the standard form. So I can't really easily know a slope by looking at them. I actually need to calculate the slope for كل واحدة فيهم. So before I do anything, I need to check which of those has the same slope of -2 قبل ما افكر في اي حاجه, عشان الحاجات اللي ما فيهاش slope -2 اشيلها. That's how I eliminate the incorrect answers. So check the first one. The slope is negative الرقم اللي جنب x, which is 1, over الرقم اللي جنب y, which is 2. So this one is incorrect. The second one, the slope is negative الرقم اللي جنب x over الرقم اللي جنب y, which is -2. So that's half. Another one that's incorrect. Third one, it's -2 over -1, which is +2, so still incorrect. But D, -2 over 1 will come out as -2. So this is actually the only choice with the same slope. There's no need to check any other things. There's no need to check the points, for example. Does that make sense? Are we good?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Now, please focus with me. I'll explain one more thing regarding the parallel and regarding the lines of the linear functions, which are the parallel and perpendicular lines. So whenever you see the word parallel lines in any test whatsoever, you think of the equal slopes. You see parallel lines, think equal slopes. Parallel lines, equal slopes. So أي حاجة بتمنشن كلمة parallel lines يبقى فكر أنت على طول في equal slopes. So for example, if I told you that line 1, the equation بتاعته is y equals 3x plus 2, and line 2, the equation بتاعته y equals b أو بلاش b عشان letter b بيلخبط, kx minus 4. And I ask you what's the value of k? K apparently, وأنا قلت لك إن line 1 parallel to line 2. So أول ما شفت كلمة parallel, I realized that they must have equal slopes. So I get the slope of the first one, which is 3, and I must have it equal to the slope of the second one, which is k. So أقول then that k must be equals to 3. They're equal to each other. And that's it. So parallel lines, equal slopes, that's something that's important to note on your own, because that's the only reason they mention parallel lines in any test. Like the only reason why they would tell you that these are parallel is to give you the slope بس indirectly. بدل ما اقول لك السلوب is equals كذا بقول لك انه parallel لكذا. So it's the same thing. On the other hand, perpendicular lines. Perpendicular اللي هو لو line عامل كده, اللاين التاني عامل عليه 90 degrees. So if this line has a slope of 3, a perpendicular line would have -1 over 3. What does that mean? We do something called negative reciprocal. So a reciprocal يعني بنفلip الفراكشن, يعني 3 تعتبر 3 over 1. الريسبريكال بتاعها 1 over 3. Now negative reciprocal يعني كمان هغير الساين. So لو عندي لاين السلوب بتاعه ب 2, البربنديكولر هيكون شقلب يعني 1 over 2 وغير الساين يعني negative 1 over 2. لو كان عندي لاين السلوب بتاعه negative 2 over 3, البربنديكولر عليه will be positive 3 over 2, شقلبه وغيرت الساين. لو عندي line السلوب بتاعه 1 over 4 the perpendicular would become 4 over 1 which is 4 and then غير الساين so negative 4. Does this make sense ولا لا؟
Yes. Yes.
حلو قوي. So if you don't
بس هو
yes
بس هتجيلي في الكويستشن ازاي؟ تديني نمبر يعني ويقول لي اقول لك perpendicular ليها؟
لا ما that's what I wanted you to check. I didn't want to explain every question المرة دي because I want you actually to see questions and try them out and then I'll tell you how. One of the things برضه يعني هنا and everyone that I always do معلش و I know this because I've got comments على الموضوع ده قبل كده. I try to give you just the basic main idea and I want you first to struggle شوية في question and then I tell you how it's solved. Because كل الحاجات اللي أنا عمال أقولها without you actually thinking about it الأول you'll forget them all. So the main simple basic idea of it is this. How it will be solved I want you الأول to struggle معلش شوية. Okay? So try it out كده بس الأول with me and then you'll see. ماشي؟ Okay? If you don't mind, head to Google Classroom and you'll find one there that's called 3-4 parallel perpendicular.
اللينك بس يا مستر.
أول حاجة. So it's in the chat برضو now. This is برضو still a total of 6 questions. Without parallel perpendicular lines, so the same 7 minutes. Hopefully we'll do that in time. Seven minutes start now. Let's see each question. I think this one started to become a bit harder than the previous ones. It's a combination of all the previous, okay? So it says here, which of the following equations represents a line that is parallel? Whenever you see parallel, you think of equal slopes. So parallel to what? Parallel to this equation. Before you read the rest, you'll take the slope out of this equation and write it here to know that your slope is the same as this one because they're parallel. Now it also contains the point -2.5. So you'll check first which of the following equations have the slope of -0.5, and then we'll check which have this point as well on that line. So if you check the first choice, it's -1 over the number next to the y, which is -2, and that is 1 over 2. So that's incorrect. But if you check B, it's -1 over the number next to the x, which is 2. So that's the same slope as the one that I want. Now C and D apparently have completely as well wrong, different slopes. Therefore, none of them works except for B without me even using at all the point, just by figuring out the slope. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, if we're checking number 2, which of the following represents a line that passes through 7 and 6 and parallel to the x-axis? So this is a very important thing to discuss now. If this is the xy axis, when a line is parallel to the x-axis, its slope is mainly 0. It did not even get any steep in any way. So the slope of this line will always be 0. Now think about this. Y equals mx plus b should be the equation of any line. If the slope is 0, this will become y equals 0 times x plus b. Now 0 times x is just 0. So 0 plus b will be the answer. So that the answer finally will be y equals b. What do I mean by case D? What I'm trying to show you now in an equation of a line that is parallel to the x-axis does not have any x in it at all. It's just y equals a number. مثلا, if this line crosses the y here at 4, what would be the equation of this line? The equation of it would be y equals 4, without any x's, without anything else. That's it. If another line passes through, let's say here, x equals 2, sorry, y equals 2. So then what's the equation of that line? Y equals 2. That's it. Because any point on this line will always have a y that's equals to 2. While on the other hand, لو بتكلم على line that's parallel to the y-axis, like this one, you check where does it cross on the x. Let's say it crosses the x at 3. What would be the equation of that line? It would be x equals 3, without any y's, without anything else. So my point is لو اللاين معدي في الاكس axis بس، الاكس axis بالعرض معدي في الاكس axis بس، then the equation will be x equals. لو اللاين معدي في الواي axis بس، then the equation would be y equals. طيب, we discussed the slope here that it's supposed to be equals to 0. So what's the slope of a line that's parallel to the y-axis? The slope بتاعه is undefined. It's not even a value at all. It's not a number. Yes, it's من كتر ما هو كبير, it's undefined. So in this case, ايه برضو الموضوع? If a line is parallel to the x-axis, then this means that the line is just like this one, for example. Now it passes through the point 7 and 6. يبقى في point هنا 7 and 6. So what do you think the equation of it will be? I just used the y coordinate and I say that the equation must be y equals 6. It doesn't matter خالص in x. What matters is the y بس عشان هو line already بالعرض. If you check number 3 on the other hand, which is the opposite of this case بالظبط, عندي line that is parallel to the y-axis where it passes through the point -5 and 1. So this is the point, let's say -5 and 1. What would be the equation of this one? I'll disregard تماما ال y I'll take just the x and I'll say x must be equals to -5. And that's it. So again, لو اللاين بالعرض it's y equals. لو اللاين بالطول it's x equals رقم وبس. بشوف ايه الاكس كوردينيت اللي موجوده على اي بوينت على اللاين وبقول x equals الرقم ده. Does that make sense so far ولا في لخبطه شويه في الموضوع ده؟ Are we all good ولا لا؟
Yes.
لوجي we're good, هنا we're good, محمد ومحمد I think اكيد انتوا لازم تبقوا good.
Yes.
Awesome. Now if you look at 4, you're told there's a line that passes through these 2 points and is parallel. So whenever you see the word parallel, you think of equal slopes. Parallel to what? It's parallel to this line here. So what's the slope of this line? It's -4 over -2, which is +2. So that's my slope. The slope of these two points should be exactly equals to this slope. So I'll do the slope اللي هو y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. b minus 2 over 5 minus -1 should be equals to the slope that I calculated, which is 2. Now let's solve the equation. So b minus 2 over 6 will be equals to 2. I'll move the 6 to the other side. So b minus 2 will be equals to 12. -2 moves to the other side. So b is equals to 14. And that's my final answer. That's the value of b. This one is very important. We did part of it in the previous questions on the previous forums. Now we're doing the remaining part اللي هو البارallel. زودنا عليها حتة. Are we good?
أنا عملتها نفس بس عملت calculations غلط
Probably negative. اللي هي negative صح؟
عملت حاجة في calculations غلط بس نفس الستبس.
هي probably حتة -5 minus 1 دي عملتيها مش 6، عملتيها 4 مثلا أو حاجة. عملتيها كده؟
لا مش انا عملتها وديت 6 برضه كنت
يو
مش فاهمة
مش فاهمة فيها. انا مستغربه نفسي. لا لا عادي عادي it's fine.
ايوه
عادي عادي، هو بس افتكري حوار من طول ما الحاجه تحت، لما تروح هناك هتروح بالتايم بقى الزقيها هناك على طول. طيب let's see 5. 5 you're told already that these are the two lines and the two lines are parallel to each other برضو. And because you read the word parallel you're thinking about the equal slopes. So what do we know? Then calculate the slope of a line اللي فيه كل البوينتس بتاعته. Yes, I like this question بصراحة. So when you look at line L عندي البوينتس موجودة وعندي البوينتس موجودة، مفيش حاجة ناقصة. So why not calculate the slope? It's 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 2, which will give me 3 over negative 2, which is mainly negative 3 over 2. So this is my slope right now of line L. Now line M لو حبيت أحسب له السلوب بتاعه I'll do the same procedure. y2 minus y1, so b minus negative 3 over x2, which is the negative 4, minus x1, which is negative 1. Let's simplify this شوية. b minus minus 3 will become b plus 3, and negative 4 minus negative 1 will become negative 4 plus 1, which is negative 3. So this is the slope of the other line. Now, because they said that these two are parallel, the two slopes should actually be equal to each other. So I'll solve them this way and I'll say it's an equation. b plus 3 over negative 3 is equals to negative 3 over 2. Now we said earlier whenever we have fractions equals to each other, we'll just cross multiply. So I'll do that. I'll do 2 multiplied by b plus 3 equals negative 3 multiplied by negative 3, which is positive 9. Distribute the 2, so you'll have 2b plus 6 equals 9. Move the 6 to the other side. It will be 2b equals 3. Divide the 2 to the other side, so it's 3 over 2, and that should be the value of b. The process of thinking is the most important thing. I just used the fact that they're parallel, and I got the slope of the first one, I got the slope of the second one, and I made them equal. Yes, Rishad?
انا عملت كل الستبس بس هي طلعت لي negative 3 over 2.
طيب I think انه بس you miscalculated الحتة دي انه negative 3 times negative 3 the positive 9. I think you did it as negative 9. Is this the case?
لا هو نقطة مستقلة، يعني أنا عملت 2 point مختلفين، مش مختلفين، أنا بدأت في point قبل آخر الثانية.
Okay, so in this case انت عندك ال 2 هي اللي اصلا هنا بالنيجاتيف، يعني عندك 3 over negative 2 ولا عندك؟ لا. Okay, so you decided to go 0 minus 3 over 2 minus 0, which will give you برضه negative 3 over 2.
Yes.
So نفس الستبس من بعدها بالظبط. انما لما جيتي عملتي البوينت الثانيه عملتي 3 minus b over negative 1 minus negative 4 صح؟ ولا لا؟
Yes.
So that got you 3 minus b over negative 1 plus 4, which is 3. صح؟
Yes.
So now negative 3 over 2 is equals to 3b over 3. Cross multiply. You'll get negative 9 equals 2 multiplied by 3 minus b. Distribute the 2. Negative 9 will be equals to 6 minus 2b. Move the 6 to the other side, you'll get negative 9. ايه ده؟ لا.
لا negative 3 minus b.
Yes, negative 3 minus b. I miscalculated this. لا, wait. Oh, yes, negative 3 minus b. So this is negative, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative. So it goes to the other side positive, so it becomes negative 3 equals to negative 2b. When you move the negative 2 to the other side by division, it will become negative 3 over negative 2, which is 3 over 2. So it's the same slope. فاهمة؟
اه
Sure.
ثانية.
I think بس it's about a sign.
ازاي negative equals negative 2b؟
عشان ال 2 اللي هنا when it was distributed it became negative 2b صح؟
Yes.
وبعدين النيجاتيف 6 لما راحت الناحية التانية هتروح positive so negative 9 plus 6 became negative 3.
أيوه. أيوه ماشي. أنا حطيت النيجاتيف 6 زي ما هي ما عملتهاش positive.
Okay. So that's the thing. That makes sense. Yes.
Thank you.
We moved on. Yuji, were you about to say something? Well, are we good? I saw you unmuting and then muting back again. Are you good? Everything good? Hopefully. Right. Number 6. This is the same idea as the previous one. كل الفرق إن هما they're perpendicular, they're not parallel. So what I'll do is I'll work on each line separately برضو. I'll work with line T الأول وهجيب السلوب بتاعه because I'm given all the points. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Calculate this, it's negative 4 over negative 6, which is 2 over 3 simplified. Now if you check line L اللي هو اللاين التاني when you calculate its slope برضو it's negative 2 minus 4 over a minus negative 1. That would get me negative 6 over a plus 1. Now I have the slope of this line and I have the slope of the other line, T. Because they're both perpendicular, they're not parallel, then I'm supposed to flip and switch the sign. So instead of 2 over 3, I'll actually put it here as negative 3 over 2. I'll flip them and I'll make these two equals to each other and I'll start solving. Whenever I have fractions equal each other, I'll cross multiply. So I have negative 6 times 2 equals to negative 3 bracket a plus 1. Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12 equals to negative 3 a minus 3. Move this to the other side. So negative 12 plus 3 is negative 9 equals negative 3a. Then the negative 3 moves to the other side by division. So it becomes positive 3. And that is the value of a. Does this make sense?
Mister,
Yes.
هو النيجاتيف 4 over negative 6 دي جت منين من فوق؟ يعني أنا أول حاجة عارفاها اللي هي y2 minus y1 بس negative.
So what's negative 3 minus 1?
عادي من
أنا حسبتهم بس يس. So عشان كده عملت كل أصلا حتة بلون لوحده. عشان بس أفهمك إنه الأول الأزرق I simplified till the last step لما جبت 2 over 3. And then الريد I برضه simplified لحد ما جبت negative 6 over a plus 1. خلاص ما ينفعش أعمل حاجة أكتر من كده. Then I started using حتة الperpendicular إن أنا I took this slope and I switched it and I changed the sign and then I made them equal. Now this is the first equation we actually solve. فاهمة؟ Any problems in anything we've explained so far?
No.
Now, if you don't mind, please do the exit ticket. Your homework is mainly these two forms, parallel and perpendicular slopes, along with slope dash points, or bracket points. Now, it's just the exit ticket, and that's mainly it. I'll send the exit ticket here on the chat for whoever does not have it. And for everyone else, if you have any questions, stay behind. If not, I'll leave within the next few minutes. I'll upload the notes and the video recording and then okay. Thank you, حبايبي طبعا. I hope you're all feeling well. Please tell me and be very honest in the exit ticket how things are going.
مستر هو في النوتس حضرتك هتأبلود على جوجل كلاس روم عادي؟
Yes. So every single class, I take these notes, I upload it as a PDF on Google Classroom. The recording of the session is also uploaded on Google Classroom.